There's so much advice out there on how to become a good photographer. It's tough to know what actually works and what doesn't. As someone who's spent years sifting through that advice, I've managed to pare down my experience into one video. And it's all very simple, really. Becoming a good photographer is a lot like climbing a mountain. As a beginner, you're starting off at the bottom, looking up at this seemingly massive challenge. At the top is that feeling of thinking, yes, I finally made it. But between you and that point is a giant hunk of rock, and it's steep. The reality is, and I'm going to say this very early in the video, there are no shortcuts to becoming a good photographer. You can watch all the 10 tips to nail sharpness videos you want, but none of them are going to instantly make you a better photographer. And that's a good thing. The reason it's good is that nothing worth doing was ever easy. There is no sense of achievement in quick success. Hard-earned success, though, well, there's no feeling like it. Along this journey, there are going to be some tough times. You're going to come across some very barren places, times when you have no inspiration, times when you feel inadequate, times when you simply have no time. These are the times when many people give up in their photography journey. They come up against a hurdle and decide, this is just too hard. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with giving something up if it no longer fulfills you. But for those of us who power through these times, for those of us who still want to assail that mountain, there are also some very beautiful experiences along the way. So this is one of my absolute favourite locations here. I've been here a few times and every time it's provided something different for me. Sometimes you've had beautiful clouds in the sky, sometimes you've had mist in the valley. Today, the sun has risen in exactly the right place under that tree. Honestly, when you get days like today, it really is worth those super early alarms. Although looking at my bags under my eyes, my wife might not think so when I get home. There will be times on your journey that it's vitally important you stop and appreciate what you've accomplished. Maybe you've got just one photo you're proud of. You should be proud of it. You came through the tough times and nailed the shot. Perfect. But alas, we're not at the top yet. There's still some distance between you and that point of being successful. These times can actually be tougher to overcome than the barren times, because we might think to ourselves, I've accomplished something, but it just isn't enough. Well, keep going, and don't forget to enjoy the view. Remember why you started this journey in the first place, because one day you will reach the top. One day you will feel like you've become a good photographer, and on that day, you will also have a profound realization. You see, once you've ascended that mountain, once you've achieved your goals, you'll realize that just on the horizon there is another mountain, and it's much, much bigger than the one you've just climbed. So what lessons should you take away from that video, that story that I told? Well, there's three main lessons. First of all, photography is not a sprint, it's a mountain climb. There's lots of advice out there that tell you that you need to just apply these few things to instantly become a better photographer. Unfortunately, those are just steps on the journey. They are not the whole journey. They're just people that are trying to get you to click on their video or on their article. And while there's some very good advice out there, it's adding these things together that will actually make you a good photographer, not just one thing that will take you one day from a bad photographer to a good one the next. When you see a photographer that you really look up to and admire, they are somebody who has been on that mountain for a long, long time. There is no good photographer out there who only learned to do it a couple of years ago. They've been on this journey a long time. And that should be something that's really reassuring, because literally the only difference between someone who is a bad photographer and a good photographer is usually the amount of time they have spent learning photography. Which means that if you're somebody that feels like you're a bad photographer at the moment, you only need to put in the time of intentional practice. And one day you literally will become a good photographer, somebody that other people look up to. If you can climb that mountain, then you can become a good photographer. The second lesson I hope really came across in that video is that it's really important to enjoy this journey. Now, I've climbed lots of literal mountains in my time. I love mountain climbing, and I've done it with lots of different sorts of people. The sort of people I enjoy doing it with are people who stop on the way up, enjoy the view, take in their surroundings, take their time to reach the top of the mountain. But I have been mountain climbing with quite a few people who just want to rush to the top of that mountain. They see it as this challenge, this race. Although, to be honest, they do generally tend to be a lot fitter than me as well. And while there's certainly an amount of fun in that, it's not the best way to do it. You miss out on so much on that journey. And it's exactly the same with photography. Take your time in becoming a good photographer. There are lots and lots of moments you will enjoy in the way. You'll get some great photos, it will take you to some great places, and you will learn so much stuff. You'll also go through some pretty bad times with your photography as well. You will take some very, very bad photos. I certainly have tens of thousands of them under my belt, and that's all part of those steps that we take up the mountain. At least I like to think so anyway. I suppose really it's about being thankful that you have this opportunity to go on this journey. And speaking of being thankful, actually, I owe you, my audience, a really big thanks. My last video did incredibly well. In fact, double the amount of views it would normally get in the first couple of weeks. And when I looked into the analytics about why, it's because I saw so many of you had actually shared that video. YouTube tells you where a lot of your traffic comes from, and I noticed that people were sharing it on WhatsApp, on Gmail. F-Stop has shared it in an article, which I was really grateful for. It was being shared on photography forums. I even had some traffic coming from Bing, which I thought was a bit weird. Do people still use Bing? And that makes a massive difference to a small channel like mine. And I want to give you my genuine, heartfelt appreciation for doing that, because YouTube doesn't really recommend my videos much as a small channel. That's not a complaint, it's just how it works. But when you share it by word of mouth, that makes a massive difference to my channel, because it also brings in people that will generally stick around. If you're recommended something by somebody you know, generally you'll give it a bit more of a chance. And that's exactly what happened with that last video. It really increased my subscriber count, and it got shared with some really great, genuine people. I got loads of really nice comments. And it's all thanks to you. So thank you for just pressing that little share button and letting other people know about it. Now, when it comes to the third lesson, this is the most important one, is that photography is not a journey you can ever complete. That's the honest truth. There's always another challenge to overcome, another goal to reach, and another mountain to climb. Yep, I am really sticking with that analogy. And personally, I think that's a really good thing. Can you imagine if you could only ever climb one mountain in your life? That'd be really, really boring. And it's exactly the same with photography. This is something that we can go on doing forever. This craft that we love so much is something that we get to enjoy for the rest of our lives if we stick with it. Don't see that as a negative thing, the fact that it's something you can never complete. See it as a positive thing. Even if you have decades of experience under your belt, the fact that you can never complete photography, I think, is what makes it one of the best hobbies, crafts out there. And if you want to see some of the moments I've had along my journey, then check out my website, joshuapeg.com. And if you want to support this channel as well in a direct way and also get something out of it, then check out my store on there as well. I've got a couple of things for sale that will help you in your photography journey. Anyway, I'm on my way out to film with this. I'll see you next time.